Good morning, my name is Matt.
Hello. Hi, my name's Andrea.
Nice to meet you. I'm a peer counselor here at Peer Counseling Center, and as such, I'm under faculty supervision, but these still are confidential sessions, so anything said here won't leave the room, except for a few exceptions. If I'm given reason to believe that you're going to harm yourself, harm others, or aren't able to make decisions for yourself, then I would have to break that confidentiality. I'm going to be here for the rest of the semester. We can meet up to half an hour each week as you please, but these are voluntary sessions, so you can quit whenever you want. That's about it. Do you have questions about any of that?
No, I'm okay.
Cool. What did you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I mean, school has been going fairly well. I have been having one kind of issue that I've found in my day-to-day, which is kind of has a lot to do with my sleeping patterns. Because I'm able to keep up with the schoolwork and I'm able to at least make it to class. However, sometimes I end up falling asleep or it's a hard time to even pay attention in class. I don't know if it's because I'm staying up so late or if it's because the noise in my apartment, but I don't know, it's been kind of frustrating.
Yeah, so I hear that in general, you feel like you're doing pretty well in your classes, but you're worried about your sleeping habits and how they might be affecting your schoolwork.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So why don't you tell me a little bit more about your sleeping habits, when you go to bed, when you get up.
Yeah, so I'm in school 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I am taking 5 classes, and I definitely love what I'm studying, and I'm enjoying the material and enjoying when I have to do homework. So I come in as early as 10:50, then the latest I leave is about 8 p.m. Depending on the day, it does vary, but of course with breaks in between. So I do kind of sneak in a nap or two sometimes on the 8th floor, but it is hard, with that finals approaching and stuff, it's less and less sleep during the weeks ahead. And I mean, I stay in school so long because I find it more productive than being at home at my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if I can even call it home right now, but yeah.
Okay, so I hear it sounds like you spend pretty long days at school, but you think that that's the most productive way to manage your time in that regard. Sometimes you're even able to squeeze a nap in.
Yeah, and I think what really gets in the way is because I'm always getting calls and texts from my roommates and stuff, and it just kind of gets overbearing. So that's why I choose to stay in school.
So some of those social pressures you might be finding them overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean because they keep me up and they're not so I guess as attentive as I am to school obligations in terms of studying and stuff like that. Every time I go to my apartment, it's always something going on. So it's that's why I like sneaking into the library and finding a little cubby.
Okay, so it seems to it sounds like your home environment might not really be conducive to letting you get the rest you need. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
Can you tell me more about your living situation?
Yeah, so I mean, I moved out about 2 years ago from my parents' place, and I moved in with I mean, first I had my cousin. I was rooming with my cousin for a while, but then that didn't really work out because she got married. So I ended up rooming with 2 of my friends. However, so it's 3 of us. It's me and my friend Matthew and my other friend Steven. And so it was good in the beginning. I just kind of needed to make sure that people were going to pay the rent, obviously. That was kind of the only requirements, and it was a plus that we were friends. However, I don't know, then the party started happening, and then the sleepless nights started happening. And so I think that's really my issue. They're just kind of really out there. And I'm kind of, it's my last year at John Jay, so I really want to make this count and make it worth my effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds hard. So just to make sure I'm understanding right, you're living with two of your friends. They generally are keeping up with the rent and everything, so that's not a concern. But there's like noise issues. They're not as serious about school as you are.
Yeah, and it's also frustrating because like Matthew also goes to John Jay. Steven did go to John Jay, but he ended up transferring to Hunter. So it was like, I don't know, it was like worse when all three of us were going to John Jay. Cause like, you know, like not only, it's like I can't get away from them, you know, like they would also want to hang out in school and go home together. So sometimes when I wanted to like stay in the library, they would kind of pressure me into like going home to like, or like having a drink or something like this, you know. So it's kind of hard to like tell them no, especially like when you're gonna see them eventually.
So you're feeling kind of like a burden of the your friendship with them, where you feel like you can't. You're afraid, maybe feeling afraid to deny them that interaction.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I don't want to call my friends a burden, but like, they started dating and like, so it's like that's also like another issue where it's like you have to deal with this kind of like drama at home, and like sometimes like one of them doesn't come home and then the other one's like calling me, and it's kind of like I feel like I'm kind of like being like that older sister kind of thing. Although like, yeah, so like that's why also it's like kind of like getting into play with like my school, because like I'm like in class and then I have like Matthew calling me about Steven, so it's like very like kind of like a circus sometimes.
So your two roommates that you live with are in a relationship together?
Yes, I mean they're on and off, but like it's kind of hard to, you know, like I'm not gonna judge their relationship, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, I can see how that would further complicate your living situation. I guess, can you tell me a little bit more about how you would prefer the relationship with your roommates to be? What would be a better relationship with them?
I mean, this is gonna sound, I feel guilty thinking about this, but I do think about this a lot. I mean, we're all over 21, we're all like adults, so I kind of, a lot of days I find myself kind of wanting them to just take charge of their own life and not, I guess, like, let me know about every second that's going on with their lives. Because, you know, everyone has things to deal with, and I just feel like it's like a heavy burden, but I do feel really guilty, like, having these thoughts and, like, being close friends with them at the same time.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you care about your relationship with your roommates. You wouldn't say that it's a burden, but at the same time, you wish they would take a little more responsibility.
Yeah.
Can you, going back to your original concern, how do you think your home situation is affecting your school situation?
Right. So, I mean, like one time, for example, I remember my alarm was going off, and I'm a like relatively heavy sleeper. So sometimes like it does take me a while to wake up, and so pretty much what had happened was Matthew and Steven were out drinking the night before because they didn't have school. Like they don't have school Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I do. So I think they were drinking like Monday night, and then so when Tuesday morning came around, I do share the room with Matthew, because like the second room is really small. So like, I mean, sometimes they do double up, but like, I guess this night, like, I don't know what happened, but like they split up. And so my alarm was ringing and Matthew apparently like turned it off. And so I didn't wake up to class on time. So that was like, I guess like one recent example. But I think overall, it's just like kind of having like, I don't know, it's almost like I'm living like a reality show where it's like I'm home and it's like a sitcom about the roommates, and then I come to school and I'm trying to be like this professional. But like, you know, I can't separate the two really, because when I go to school I still see Matthew. And I mean, like we kind of did get in an argument about the alarm clock. Like Matthew said he didn't know, but I don't know, I feel like it's like a lot of like, we're kind of on top of each other when we shouldn't be. So I'm having a hard time like kind of being like, okay, here, this is the line, don't cross it kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
without like harming my friendship with them, because they are really great guys. I just think that like, you know, everyone's at different points of their life, so like they're kind of going through different things, or they're concerned, they're putting priority over other things, while I'm putting priority over school, or trying my best to.
Uh-huh. So it sounds, I'm hearing that you have different priorities than your roommates. You're at different maybe stages in your life right now, and that's making you feel kind of torn at times, or you're pulled in different directions.
Yeah.
As far as balancing, like reconciling your home life with your school. And, you talked about that incident with the alarm clock, and you said you and Matthew you fought about it afterwards. Tell me what that was like. How did you?
It wasn't fun at all. 'Cause I mean, I normally like me being like a nice roommate. I normally like make breakfast for them and stuff like that. So like, especially since they were like hungover, they were like kind of like, well, you woke up like you woke up late. Okay, like it's too late, like, you know, kind of thing. And I was just like really like fuming. So at first I was trying to contain it, and I was like trying to like be like upright, like not upset about it, but like to hear that kind of like nonchalant attitude about it, it's like I felt like they weren't acknowledging what's important to me. You know, like at that moment, what's important to them is to kind of like relax and sleep in. So like I did confront Matthew because he kept like, he could tell that I was mad even though I wasn't saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just like snapped at him and was like, you know, it's really unfair that like you turned off my alarm clock. Like I really needed to make it to this class. I already have like 3 absences from his birthday, because we also went out for his birthday, and I ended up like, you know, these kinds of pressures where like I'm like, okay, you know what, like I do have a mid